Welcome to Relocating to Disney. Well, here we are, nice Saturday morning, enjoying breakfast out at the Lanai. I thought I'd give you the 3-year update. So we've been here in Florida now 3 years. And when we moved here, the plan was that we were going to be a Disney family, right? We were going to spend enormous amounts of time at Disney World. We live 11 miles over my shoulder is Disney World, and you can see the fireworks at night from here. You hear them every single night. This was going to be like the dream. So in this episode, I'm going to give you an update. How is that? What's it been like the last 3 years living here in Florida? Are we going to Disney all the time like we had planned, and are we the Disney family? All right, so stay tuned to get all those answers. We dreamed of moving to Florida and being closer to Disney for more than 10 years. We thought about pulling the kids out of school and coming from upstate New York, where the winters are cold and miserable and horrible. You think of winter as this nice blanket of snow and snowflakes drifting down and like a snow globe, and it's this wonderful thing. That's not typically how it is in upstate New York. You get that occasionally, but for the most part, winters in upstate New York, they're brown and gray skies and muddy and just yucky looking. There's no snow. It's just cold, miserable, and it's warm during the summer, but as soon as you hit September, the light switch goes off. It gets cold, increasingly cold, and you really can't enjoy the outside unless you like to ski or snowmobile or something like that, which we don't do. You really don't get to enjoy the outside until about May. Around May, anytime before May, the ground is just way too wet. And so after May, the ground starts to harden up a little bit, and you're able to get outside and do some things. And then you've got, you got June, July, and August where you can really enjoy New York. The rest of the year, it's, for me anyways, and I know other people are going to think differently, but for me that wasn't enjoyable. And I lived that for 50 years. So yeah, I've seen it. And then we would vacation down here in Florida. Anytime we could, we would come to Florida. Now sometimes we went to Myrtle Beach, but usually it was Florida. And during the summers, my wife was off. She worked at a school, and we would rent a house and come down here. And she would take the kids off to Disney World while I worked, and then I'd meet up with them after work. So we really enjoyed being down here. Now, summer's the hottest time of the year, and so our thought was, well, if we can still enjoy it during the summer, the rest of the year down here in Florida is beautiful. And it absolutely is. That's completely true. So we did that, the summer trips, for a long time. It didn't scare us off from moving to Florida. It just encouraged us that this is really what we wanted to do. So we thought, like I said, we thought about pulling the kids out of school and coming down here. And in the end, we said, no, we're going to wait until the kids are finished with schools. Schools in New York, say what you want about them, good, bad, whatever. They're pretty good. Schools in New York are pretty good. And then definitely in our town, we had a really good school. So we wanted to make sure they got a chance to finish out. And the day after my youngest son graduated from high school, we were in the moving truck headed to Florida. So there you go. We had pre-bought the house that we're in now, and it was sitting here for a couple of months empty, waiting for us. And if you're interested in any of that story, you definitely check out the earlier blogs, go back about 3 years or so, and fantastic story of how we got here. So I'm not going to get into that now. This will be an hour and a half long video if I did. What you're interested in is, what is life after you've been here for 3 years, right? You dream about it, you think about it, you want to go to Florida. Maybe you want to live by the beaches, or maybe you want to live by the theme parks. But either way, you want to get to Florida. So here we are 3 years later. Is there's still magic when we go to Disney? That's always the big question, right? And when you're vacationing and you go to Disney, it's like magical. Is it still magical? A harsh reality here, and I knew this coming here, is that it's one thing to vacation here, it's another thing to live here. Kind of. I heard that warning so many times that I really expected life here in Florida to be just like it was in New York, and it isn't. It isn't, not at all. There's so much to do here in Florida. That somebody said, "Aren't you worried you'll get bored?" And it's like, wouldn't that be a wonderful thing to get bored in Florida? There's so much to do outside of Disney, not even just counting what's going on inside of Disney. The main point was relocating here for Disney, be a Disney family, 11 miles away. And we don't go to Disney very much. And I really thought we would be spending weekends and occasional evenings and things like that at Disney. We're lucky if we make it over there once a month and get inside the parks. Yeah, maybe. I don't even know if it's that frequent once a month. There's a lot to do at Disney that doesn't involve going inside the parks. Either there's resorts you can go to, going and having a relaxing day at Disney Springs. There's other things to do than go inside the parks. But then there's the parks as well. So I want to explain that a little bit, why we're not the Disney parks people that we thought we were going to be. Well, let's start off with, like I said, we're 11 miles away from Disney. If you just think about that, that sounds close. And I'm sure if you're like a day's travel, 2 days travel, 3 days travel from Disney, you're like, hey, 11 miles, that's awesome. Think about the commitment it's going to take to say, hey, let's go to Disney. It's not like, hey, let's just pop over to Disney for dinner tonight or something like that. Okay, it's 11 miles away. If you were to travel, not just basic math here, if you were to travel 60 miles an hour, that's 1 mile a minute, it'd take you 11 minutes to get to Disney. But you're not traveling 60 miles an hour. If you could travel 30 miles an hour, okay, 2 miles a minute, it'd take you 22 minutes to get over to Disney. And that's just to get on property, by the way. But here in Florida, because of the incredible amount of traffic and the fact that there's no roads that go directly to where you want to go, you gotta have to make your way around the different routes to get to where you want to go. What you do is you take the number of miles you have to travel and you multiply that by 3 or 4, and that tells you how long it takes to get there. So 11 miles here in Florida can easily take 33 minutes to 44 minutes to get there. To go to Disney for us, just driving, we've got to be half an hour to 45 minutes, depending upon where in property we're going. And again, I know I get it, right? So if you're nowhere near here, you're saying, hey, I'll take 45-minute drive to Disney, compared to what I've got to drive. I got to fly, I've got to drive days, and whatever. So yeah, I get it. Yeah, maybe I'm a little spoiled there, complaining. 45 minutes to get there. But again, you're thinking about comparing your life now, where you get out of work, you meet your family up, right? You're going to go for dinner after work, to the idea that, hey, after work we're going to go to Disney and have dinner. Okay, well, maybe not. 45 minutes, and then 45 minutes back home. And that's just to get there. Right, so once, let's say you're going to Magic Kingdom, you park in, and if you vacation at Disney, you probably don't know this because you might stay on property and you just use buses and things like that. But if you're not on property, you drive in and you park at the Ticket and Transportation Center. Huge parking lot, right? And then you get on a tram, and the tram takes you up to security. And so you get checked in through security, and at that point you choose. Do I want to take the ferry or the monorail? Because you're still, I don't know, what is it, a mile or so away from the Magic Kingdom at that point? You got to get across the lagoon. You got to get across the lake, the bay, whatever they call it there. So you get on the ferry, you get across the water, get out, and now you're at the ticketing area, where you scan your ticket or your wristband or whatever. You give them your fingerprint. And then you're through and you're at the train station. So that whole thing from driveway to train station can easily take an hour, hour and a half. And then you have that in reverse when you come home, hour, hour and a half. So you're the 3 hours of your day just to go to Disney World, to the Magic Kingdom, for example. So that's a commitment, right? You're going to say, hey, anybody want to go to the Magic Kingdom this weekend? Yeah, sure, okay. 3 hours of your day is committed to just travel. Here comes the question: is the magic gone? Right? When you're on vacation, it's an incredible experience. But when you go there all the time, it's still an incredible experience. But there's things that happen that will start to annoy you over time. For example, the crowd levels. People complain Disney's really crowded. But when you got to deal with that every single time you go to Disney, it starts to get annoying. And it gets annoying to the part where, you know, you're in this flock of people, shoulder to shoulder, walking down Main Street, and somebody stops to get something out of a stroller or something, and everything backs up behind that person, and people are, you know, running into each other because some idiot stopped to get something out of a stroller in the middle of the walkway. And probably when you're on vacation, you're not there that much. You know, they say pack your patience, right? It's not that big of a deal. But when you have to deal with this all the time, it's like, come on, don't stop with your stroller in the middle of the walkway when you got a couple hundred people walking behind you. They're going to start backing up. They're going to trip over you, all this other stuff. So, you know, that kind of stuff, it gets annoying after a while. We'll go to the park just for a couple of hours because we know we can come back any other day. Where when you're on vacation, it's like a marathon trip. You got to get every hour you can because you're paying a lot of money for that. For us, yeah, we'll just go ride a couple of rides and go home. But then the other aspect of standing in line to ride that ride, that becomes annoying. And so, you know, Lightning Pass, Genie Pass, back to Lightning Pass, you know, they're making all changes. The fact remains that there's more people that want to ride a ride than there are spaces in line for that ride to run nonstop smoothly. And there's a fantastic video out there that explains the science behind it, and it's incredible to see this and the challenge that Disney has on how to solve that, right? So you think, okay, well, Disney just provide more rides. Well, that's not the answer, because then you attract more people when you put in more rides. And so that doesn't solve the queue problem. It just comes down to the fact that there's more people that want to ride each ride than there are available capacity. And so Disney plays games to try to compensate for that. You know, the Genie Plus make you pay more, you know, if you want to ride a ride and get through the line quicker, and you don't want to stand in line for an hour to ride that thing. Or they'll also have like queues in different parts of the park. So you see that, well, it takes a while to get your food, maybe, right? So you want to order some food. It takes a while to get the food, but that's not by mistake, right? Yeah, they could get you your food as fast as they want to, but if they can slow things down a little bit along the way, then that's going to help out in other areas of the park. So you start recognizing and seeing those things. I remember we went to Epcot one time, and we went back to Paris, and there's that, I don't remember what it is, but it's the mouse ride back there. And it was so hot. And we stood in line outdoors for an hour and a half to get on that ride. Was it worth it? Yeah, it was a pretty good ride. But an hour and a half. And as a local, after a while that gets to be kind of annoying, having to wait so long in lines. One, because there's a million other things that you could be doing. And that's the real message here. Florida's filled with activities and things to do. It's not all Disney, right? So you can go to the beach, have a great time, tons and tons of beaches. There's festivals, there's museums, there's nature walks and state parks, and the list just goes on and on and on and on. Different things you can do. There's arcades, golfing, mini golf. The issue is that there's just so many other things to do here in Florida that you could be doing instead of going to Disney World. And the other things are just as much fun. So a weekend comes along, you think, okay, do I want the hassle of going to Disney or the ease of doing one of these other millions of things there are to do here? And for us, the ease of doing the millions of other things are winning over. And I never expected that. I mean, we have a winery in town, right? You go, you sample some things, you go out back of the winery and they've got music playing. People have their chairs set up under these huge trees. They've got some food. You can get wine and cheese, and you just relax there with your family or your friends and listen to music. It's just absolutely relaxing. And you're outside and you're in Disney. There's another place. It's in the middle of an orange grove, right? And you go there. They've got some drinks. They've got some orange slushy. They got a little gift shop. But you just get there and you can relax, or you can walk through the orange groves, or they got some different activities. They've got animals that you can feed and pet, and it's just so laid back and relaxing. There are lots of gator parks. Of course, Gatorland everybody knows about, but there's lots of other ones, and they've got the swamp boat rides that you can hop on, and they take you around the different lakes. The point is, it hasn't been Disney for us like I thought it was going to be. And a lot of that, the reason is just because of the hassle of doing Disney. So that was a bit of a surprise. Wasn't expecting that. Okay, so that's out of the way for our 3-year update. Why we haven't spent a lot of time at Disney. So let's just talk about living in Florida, just in general. I mean, it's wonderful here. The weather is so incredible. Now, this time of the year, it's July, it's hot. It'll be over 100 degrees. And you just understand the fact that you're going to sweat. It's hot out. That's Florida. That's the way it is, right? And if you don't like it, stay inside where the air conditioning is. And that's typically what we do on the really hot days. But if you have to be outdoors, it's not horrible. You just stay hydrated, and it's okay. So the heat that people always complain about, you find ways to cope with it. Other thing people complain about is the storms, okay, especially hurricanes. Well, I don't care where you live, you're going to get storms. Okay, if you live in the north, you're going to get blizzards that come blowing through. If you live in the west, you're going to have tornadoes that come through. That's life, right? The weather, that's life. So we get storms too. Hurricanes, they come through, they give you really bad weather for a couple of days, and then they're gone, you're back to beautiful weather. If it's a direct hit from a hurricane, there's going to be damage. It's going to take a while to get it fixed, but then life goes on, and you're right back to beautiful Florida. Now I'm in Central Florida, so that's easier for me to say than perhaps if I was on the coast, where the damage could be quite severe. But it hasn't been a problem for us. Knock on wood, it won't be a problem for us. So that's another concern you'll hear about. What are some of the other concerns? Traffic is pretty bad. Then the issue with the traffic is that this place has grown so quickly that the infrastructure hasn't been able to keep up. They're building roads continually, and they just get a 4-lane built, and now they have to expand it and put more lanes in, and then they have to expand it and put even more lanes in. They just cannot keep up with the growth as far as their road construction goes. And I don't know if it's because of poor planning or not enough funding or what the real reason is, but it's a reality of living here, is that there's going to be idiots driving around. Some of them are tourists who aren't familiar with driving in this area. Some of them are just from different parts of the country or maybe even from other countries. They're just not familiar with driving around here. They're not going to drive that well. You know, not to bash too many people here, but if you're in a city, you drive a certain way, or maybe you don't drive at all, and then you come out here and you have to drive very differently, and people don't. They drive like they drive back home. So yeah, traffic is a huge problem. Gators and snakes. I've joined a Facebook group that helps me identify snakes. That has been terrific because we get snakes around this house. And I can tell, are they helpful snakes, friendly snakes, good snakes to have, or are they dangerous snakes? And so far we've had all friendly snakes, and I don't have a problem with there being a friendly snake around the house as long as it's not in the house, as long as it's not in the lanai, because if it's in the lanai it gets in the pool and then you got to rescue it, and we've done that. Don't want to keep doing that. As long as the snakes stay out in the yard, they keep the critters away, and that's nice. And I've actually gotten to the point where I enjoy, I'll see one outside and I enjoy watching them. Didn't think I'd get to that point, but it's not very often. It's not every day. It's like maybe a couple times a year I might see a snake. Gators in this neighborhood, I think I've seen two very small ones. There was a larger one swimming out at our lake about a quarter of a mile away from here, maybe less than a quarter of a mile. But no problems with gators in 3 years. Other animals, it's like National Geographic out here. We've seen armadillos. They dig up our yard. Not terrifically happy with them. Lots of different kinds of birds and hawks and falcons and you know, you got nature here and it's wonderful. Something else people complain about is the pay is low here in Florida, and I just say that it depends what you're doing. For me, I came to Florida, I got a pay raise, but there's you know, a lot of service-oriented jobs around here that are not high-skilled, that a lot of people can do. So therefore, the competition isn't very high as far as salary goes, and so the pay isn't very high on a lot of those service jobs. So I'd say it just depends. If you're coming here with a high demand skill, you're going to do really well. If you're coming here with you know, a skill that's fairly common, there could be some struggles there. But you know, I can only imagine that's true in lots of different places, not just here in Florida. Maybe more so in Florida because it's so service-oriented, tourist-oriented, that kind of a thing. But I think that's today's economy right now, is that there isn't a lot of competition for these service positions. Therefore, the salaries can stay low. Another thing is insurance. You know, a storm will come through, and it'll drop hail, ruin everybody's roofs, and then the insurance companies have to replace everybody's roofs in the entire neighborhood. I don't know how insurance companies do it. And as a result of that, the insurance costs are high in Florida. And a lot of insurance companies are pulling out to kind of prop it all up. Florida did have a government-funded insurance that you can get if you can't get any private insurance for homeowners insurance. But that's the story there. It's just very quickly, a lot of damage can happen, and the insurance companies are on the hook for it. Car insurance, you know, like I said, traffic is terrible. There's a lot of idiots on the road. If you come here, I guarantee you're going to be in an accident. We've been here 3 years, 2 accidents, none of them our fault, other people hitting us. You just got to know you're going to be here, you're going to be in an accident. Because of all the accidents, that's where the car insurance goes up. There's a lot of people who don't have any insurance at all, and this is a no-fault state. So that doesn't help your insurance premiums at all. And the insurance, I don't know if it's this way everywhere. I don't remember it being this way in New York. The way I remember it is if you were in caused accidents, after so many accidents that you caused, your insurance could drop you. Here in Florida, you don't have to cause the accident. If you're just involved in an accident, it counts against you. And after you've been involved in so many accidents, even if they're not your fault, they can drop you. Groceries, if you're used to shopping like at Aldi's or maybe Walmart, it's about the same. If you hear stories that groceries are so much expensive, well, then they must be shopping at Publix, because Publix is outrageous. I don't know how people can afford shopping there. So groceries, not terribly more expensive. You don't pay state taxes. A lot of taxes that I had in New York don't exist here, or are a fraction of it, like property taxes are nothing compared to what I was paying in New York. But other people in Florida will be quick to tell you, well, they make it up other ways. They make it up by having tolls, or when you register your car, it's really expensive. And yeah, all that's true. I mean, you don't have the state inspections on your cars, right? So you don't have that expense. Renewing the registration in your car isn't horribly expensive compared to where I was in New York. But the initial registration was kind of steep. I don't remember the exact amount. It was a couple $100, $400, $500, $600 maybe, to register that car. Generally, I think taxes are cheaper here, especially compared to New York. I mean, anything can beat New York. And then just the day-to-day living, I think, is about the same as what we had in New York. Groceries and the activities that you do. Beyond that, I mean, we love it here. So happy we moved here. So happy we got this house. And at the end of 3 years, no regrets at all that we made this move. All right, I've rambled on long enough, and thank you for watching.